from the ancestral ground. I'm a gremlin, I'm a cool, I'm a monster. Tell me your dark secrets if you want stuff. On a moral incline, I won't haunt ya. I won't spill beans, no I won't say jack. Be in the movement, man, we go way back. This ain't your everyday old school playback. Old enough to know, homie, don't play that. But she will, so let's be real. Some just wanna go and come back for a refill. All they wanna do is need $1 million and make $1 million off $1 million, stack it to the ceiling, throw it in a truck. I peel off all leaf, no trash, light it up, invoke all smoke, no gas. And whose blues clue said hope don't last. I'm in the heart of Almaroc, beating Japanese. My appetite's on overdrive, past the peas, but past the please. If you don't mind, I'd rather not opine over spirits that may or may not live inside a bovine that dance around the clotheslines.
They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, all written down in stone. They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, in our blood and bones. They'll never leave us, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, all written down in stone. No, they'll never leave us, they will never go. The words of ancestors, in our blood and bone.
Out of stone, blood and bone, genetically bred for war, embedded deep in my chromosomes. Demons dash in fear, phoenixes raiding our homes. Warfield Marshal instills martial law. Muslims chant martial law. Mount blood in my veins. I'm still freeing the minds of those once shackled on their brains. Get the women and children to safety before I board the last train. Town ablaze. Master never got the last laugh. Simple and plain. Naya Bingy's soul burns bright. As a human being, I'm entitled to my birthright. Oppressors have to perish. Snipers focus your sight like Malcolm in the window. For my people, I stand and fight. Simon Phoenix here is signing out. Good night. Going back underground, plane is just gonna take flight. High status supreme is what my name reads. Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I'm a Charlie Breed. Charlie Breed.
They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, all written down in stone. They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, in our blood and bones.
I be the light, bring sight to the door. Lord of Morocco, lightening the torch on the island of the turtle, I declare my nationality. Lord Lucifer, Royal Cal-El, that is apocalypse now. What? The show's over. Play Shakta. I'm inappropriate persona. Moorish American for the record. Spawn in Atlantis, some Exum, Northwest Gates. You hear me? Ain't no misspake, but a birthright. A day and night. Al-Bay Ali should be studying. Nobles Raleigh the prophet, but stay in deficit, indefinite. Circle Seal 7 deal where you store back with banner while I'll raise the real. Stand on your square, not a spare or a field, though you might get tripped out of shape, needing pills for bill. Because you can't swim, flows got gallons from my nation, not a challenge that I can't win. Call me cause I'm all in. Yeah, we falling.
Yo. They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, all written down in stone. They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, in our blood and bones. They'll never leave us, they'll never go. The words of ancestors, all written down in stone. No, they'll never leave us, they will never go. The words of ancestors, in our blood and bones.
Who them a step on from Far East to West, man? Matriarch age, man, out we a conceal the weapon. Old faith and get strong, them a on streets for the next one. We engrave the masters, them a lock into the next one. Up next for the takeover, angels and the ancestors, and both them and the breaks over. Raise up anything local, talk up when the thing sober. Put in for the dark days and the sun rays. It's vocal, my point to the vocal.
lava brimstone. Still they could never get us down. We meant to be around thanks and praises alone. This is a warrior stone, called from ancestral ground. And we will never hold back, it's just an old fact. I and I stay royal to the bone.
They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors all written down in stone. They will never leave us, no, they'll never go. The words of ancestors in our blood and bones. They'll never leave us, they'll never go. The words of ancestors all written down in stone. No, they'll never leave us, they will never go. The words of ancestors in our blood and bones.
Ancestral ground. From the ancestral ground. Yeah, yeah, yeah. From the ancestral ground.
The street is my world. I don't pretend to go uptown and be anything fancy. I can, but I find more real in the world that I'm in than I do the tinsel. And the real world is the one I have to deal with every day. You know, believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of it left.
Let the bass kick.
Playtime been over since y'all dropped the ball. Bound to the continent, there's no asylum for y'all. Pushing the black Asiatic game with Ford L and Pool Bay. Before NOI, I rep draw L all day. How many fakes proclaim to be the reincarnation and claim to be the true head of the Moorish nation? No mention of Billy Ill, but I read his letters. Dirty Moors mad cause they thought they dead as letters. Many were there when decisions were handed down. Now they claim that Milil was not ordained, not commissioned, not called or appointed. With divine plans for ages, but Dirty Moors making changes, working with FBI during infiltrations. In a pheasant alleys, giving bogey smoke inhalations. And secret walls are made, heads are made in public mentions. Don't believe, get the minutes of the first convention. Kirkman and Lomax Bay got called out as villains against the Prophet Soden and L. Paul Gibbons. Thousands of Moorish Americans followed those leaders that killed the prophet and made Moors parrots, not readers. They don't study, brains hollow. To crush the truth, plant dissension in the ones that follow. Rob the treasury, felt like they hit the lotto. Took advantage of the faithful Moors in their times of sorrow. Moments still critical, 100 years later, the message. Stick to the principles in your actions, be progressive. Don't sell your soul for a title, take your membership role. Watch out for grand cheeks pushing you in a censorship hole. The sellout was great, now they comfy and won't get the hell out. Active Moors come around, they get clumsy. Not humbly, but act grumpy and jumpy. Active Moors see them touchy and think it's lovely. With faces ugly, I push back so don't shove me. If not for love, it would be just as Dirty Moors get from me. Hitting all reincarnates with writs of discovery and demanding the treasury recovery and law for money. Wearing affairs don't make you a Moorish adept. Dirty Moorish heads are Boy Scouts and cadets. Working for FBI inspectors, slaves for gadgets. Claiming they got pulled, but they really dead magnets. Running a fraud that's done cause new Moors are here. One for all for one profit like musketeers. Babe, not Tampa or Buccaneers. I strike nerves like harp strings on those puppeteers. Pushing misconceptions as teachers and calling it facts. Swinging my scimitar, tongue not a fireman's axe. Quick to call me out as dirty, say I violate acts. If you don't nationalize, know that I annihilate blacks. Nailing through their palms and incepts on beams of wood. Burn crosses on black lawns in my Moorish hood. Black Klansmen like movie from 1960s. White power, not supremacy like Clayton Bigsby. Now I run through illusions, battling my arch nemesis, misconfusion. She's been trying to keep me out of course, facing losses, calling all her negative forces. 99 years past, Drew Ali said 50 would pass, and you wouldn't know about me, or even know what I brought for you. NOI and UNIA knew about him too. Most thought that they could bury the movement, be in charge, passive and abuse it. But Drew said new Moors would come with eyes open, seeing and knowing, far from hoping. Far from belief in faith, master fruition. Study the laws of nature, activate intuition. One day our wheels of industry will stop, and when it starts again, Moors will be on top. Drew Ali blessed with latent power. Warned you, get out the way or be ground to powder. Drew Ali didn't kill you fast, but he brought you your title and estate vast. Confusion continues to confuse, no remembrance of Maghrib al-Aqsa, by more descendants. I run through illusions, battling my arch nemesis, misconfusion. She's been trying to keep me out of course, facing losses, calling all her negative forces.
So Stang, turn my phones up a bit. Ain't nothing changed, it's the same. You still skylarking, most got stepdaddies like Harden. They hard in, fixed in their ways, they too hardened. Some got convictions, even if they apply, they the victims, ain't getting no pardon. Almanac is in the pen, middle finger to the warden. Free your mind, even though your body barred in. This war that I'm starting, might not want to pardon. That's what I do, that's what I do. If you're scared, stay far then. I'm prepared in, handing my card in. What they wanna call black is soot. Burnish bronze on the foot, shard in. Hydrogen molecule with the carbon. If you dare take a walk through the garden, send a stage for the role that I'm starting. I'm more in Black Knight like Martin. Soar, take flight like a Martian. I'm Thor, gladiator, Spartan. Still polite, a gentleman, charming. Friends like the Red Sea when it's parting. Kundalini energy when I'm charging. Like power and the force of a car wind. You know the type when you gotta keep your arm in. Why fight when you know say you're not winning? Never ever could compare. Let's make it clear. From day one to day done, I'm here. I never fear. You never ever could compare. Let's make it clear. Been running this from year to year. I'm still prepared. Top ranking, top charting. We have it by the skids, crates, and the cartons. The highest grade of the strain that I'm sparking. Up late nights, Johnny Carson. Early mornings, remember starving, engraved in my mind. Carved in, no dwelling in the past. No harping, don't be afraid or alarmed by the barking. Keep it close by a very thin margin. Shadow box with a little bit of sparring. Cage fights when you're fenced and you're barbed in. No cavalry, desperado charging. Never ever could compare. Let's make it clear. From day one to day done, I'm here. I never fear. You never ever could compare. Let's make it clear. Been running this from year to year. I stay prepared. Clean up your heart, don't come. Cleansing the fire, don't come. That's what I do. Don't run. Empty heart when it's out to the gun. Clean up your heart, don't come. Cleansing the fire, don't run. Keep up the peace, don't run. Empty heart when it's out to the gun. So it's gonna get you in. What? What? I'm rocking. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects, for your children, repping Friday 30s like Jason, without the killing. But we promote light, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his posture, might be talking to cops, giving them posture, occasionally wearing his vest when he's walking, see the turning heads, whispering gawking, but he's locked in and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
Study the mystics, the adepts, the magi, wisdom of the ancients can all calcify us. Possible mission, free mental numbness, extract the substance with minds of darkness. use the sauce. Don't care what some purport, as we know by being told man knows not. Many before the floor, souls got caught. Placed in the devil's hands, ruling the seven lands. To dogma rituals, Negro spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past righteous blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyberpunk. No need for cell phones, they speak from soft. It's nothing for alarm, chips and forearm.
Wind, brass, and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding the Henry serenade. Whether the sky is clear or gray, rain when you hear it fake, giving life to see. Speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glance. Then I was looked to these holes like hallucinatory things. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prints. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no Jody. Deny it, you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of fears. The sun gon' shine, so what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living a dead attack. This deep. Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living a dead attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place and spoons on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces, peel back, rats, who got cases, fire stain the corridors of flemo faces, game changers, rule benders and no pretenders, style benders, channel my vibe through the vibrant optic lenses, send a message to our veterans, soldiers up and get it in, we on the verge, we emerge subliminal beings, third eye seeing, still I participate unwilling.
They wanna break me, shake back, break me, rolling with my name G. OMG, SON is crazy for a minute that you think you can take me for a fool like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. Disrespecting me, spiders on the roof, in the dark trees, I've been saying you mistaken me to better moves for our market. Power thing is my tongue, your existence to target, revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide, carry out in pockets, I knock it down, bulldozer. David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Some big heads moving and it's getting closer to your downfall, round up for your soldiers.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters crackling as porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we get quiet, hoping to teach skeletons of dope, just to keep us afloat. Might as deep as the bone, brain is the lethal weapon. We want it to alone. When I speak, I provoke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when they let me broke under my Louis Vuitton to send me coke. Cause then we capture the trigger boy, yeah, the joke. The cost of living, higher profits and private printing. These little girls are sunny body just to pay tuition. These little niggas sunny niggas just to build condition. It's like this thing can never end with the end of mission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and me one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and one plan.
What Islamophobia is doing is causing Americans to back away from constitutional principles and the laws that we have on the books. One example, in 2010, Oklahoma passed a bill that specifically forbade judges in that state from considering Islamic religious principles and rulings. So if I had gotten married under Islamic law and I had promised my wife a certain amount of money as part of our arrangement, and then later we're getting divorced and I just didn't pay that money, my wife would have had no recourse to go to the courts to get what she was owed.
My name is Faraz Hamdani, and I am an American Muslim. As an American Muslim, I go to work. I enjoy spending time with my family, my friends, and going out to eat, just like any other American would. But then why is it that because of my faith, I'm the subject of so much discrimination, of questioning and mistrust, of outright animosity? Why is it that the current political landscape and media narrative pick such selective sound bites, portraying only the most negative aspects they can about Islam? Why is it that I'm being forced to question my own position in the community that I've lived and grown up in? What is the history of Muslims in America? What are they doing today, and what does their future hold?
The first exposure to Muslims in America really dates back, really, to be honest, back in the 9th century with the Chinese Muslim coming over here. But then you come into more of a documented and records start appearing in the 1312. These West Africans made 2 journeys over here into the Western Hemisphere. I'm going to the Mississippi, South America, Panama, Cuba, all these regions. Matter of fact, they say that they're the ones that gave them the name Honolulu and Hawaii, are Islamic African names. And there's other reports. You find reports with Christopher Columbus when he arrived here, talking about seeing ruins over in Panama and Cuba of old masjids and old mosques. But even prior to that, you look at before Columbus came and before the fall of Granada, they thought the world was flat. It wasn't until 1492 when they found the maps at the fall of Granada that they went on a journey.
How come everybody just keeps skipping over the M word? Why are they skipping over the M word? Why did they skip over the M word? Oh yeah, so we could point it out because we're the Moors. So just so you know, in this History of Islam in America extended trailer, they're telling you about the Moors. And it has to do with over here, because initially he started talking about over here, Mississippi and all that. So why would he be over here and be inspired to bring up Granada? Specifically the fall of Granada, and these people who thought the world was flat in 1492, there's people talking like that today, right? They're convinced. So these people thought the world was flat and they got the maps in the fall of Granada. No, you can say it in the fall of the Moors. When the Moors fell, in Granada, and they were torturing these Moors in the Spanish dungeons, that's how they were able to get all the stuff. The Moors didn't give them anything. Just go read any book on the Spanish Inquisition and find out how much stuff they got from the Moors through torture tactics. Specifically. Don't worry about anything else. Go research how come they were torturing the Moors. Why are they converting them to Christianity and all that? Why do that? Like our good scholar that we're going to be referencing today, Jose Pimenta Bay, teaches us that, well, if you already conquered me, like, why are you doing extra stuff? What's the extra stuff for? What's the purpose of the extra stuff? Do you guys know something that we don't know or something? Or you're going overboard. That we're already conquered, but then you want us to be Christian. And then you want us to put away all the stuff that's from our culture. You want to start going to your church. And don't go to the mosque. Just change that to a church. But then you can't go there. You have to go to this piece of crap over here that we just built out of straw and twigs. It was the fall of the Moors in Granada. Anytime you hear them mention 1492 and they don't bring up Moors, know that they have some type of tenure to lose. And they have some type of oath. Because we think about it, you know, there's no conquering a place. Nobody conquers land. You don't conquer land. You conquer the people on the land. So there's not no Granada that got conquered or Granada that got whatever treatment by Ferdinand and Isabella. Those melanated people that history knows were Moors. and that they were connected to the ancient Egyptians, which is how they even got the maps.
To travel and realize that Muslims was traveling, that the world wasn't flat, that the world was round.
Most scholars estimate that upwards of 45% of the enslaved Africans came from West Africa. That means their rituals, their traditions were rooted in that West African Islamic experience.
Then you got the town Muhammad, Illinois. Inside Muhammad, Illinois, is found tombstones with the one finger on it. Now, they don't want that name, Muhammad, Illinois. They tried to change it to Middletown, but there was already a town called Middletown, so they go back.
No. Now, this is over here. It's over here. All these people claiming that they're whatever tribe and all this stuff that they are. They're that. You know, you have to tie yourself to that because, you know, that tribe is recognized by the whatever. Okay, well, if there's a Muhammad, Illinois, that would mean that it's a very generic thing that there's this quote unquote Islamic culture on this side. It's not a big deal to people who know. To people who've been in this land, they know that crescent moons and stars been over here. That's not an Islamic thing. That's an astrological thing. You see a crescent moon and you start thinking about some type of religion, you're gone. You're out of here. Because religion doesn't have no monopoly on stars and planets. Only they could use those words. So to really see what's going on, you realize that people are playing you, playing all this tribal BS instead of just reclaiming their empire that's sitting here waiting for them to claim it. Because it's a fee simple estate. So once you're a beneficiary, nobody really has claim, really. Unless you give it up by claiming to be some religion or claiming to be some adjective. It's time for play stuff to stop. Now we just unify under the fact that we're Moors. We're already Moors and are unified over here on this side. From the outside looking in, you can say, you know, the infighting and this more and that more and that and the more and that, and then those Moors over there, and then the Robbie Moors, and then the package selling Moors, and then the whatever Moors. At least they all know that they're Moors. Why are you stateless? At least these dirty bastards know that they're Moors. At least they know they're not Negro black colored. And that everybody was getting in line with this. Don't worry about El Bay. Don't think that Stokely Carmichael to Kwame Ture isn't a name correction. Nobody will call them by a European name. How come? What did he know? That they stopped calling him that name. He wasn't part of no organization, Nation of Islam, or whatever that did that process. You know he's Kwame Ture, though. You wouldn't dare call him Carmichael BS. Because you already know. To stress the point, African American Religions by Sylvester A. Johnson, page 367. This resurgent anti-colonialism was shaped by explicit attention to transnationalism. Angela Davis, along with other members of the Black Panther Party, traveled to post-revolutionary Cuba to work in the cane fields and to experience the rebirth of a society that was no longer governed externally by a U.S. satellite state. Why didn't they go back to Africa with all that BS and go dig and go plant in Africa? Why did they go to Cuba? Because they realized that they're on their estate. They realized that this is their land. They're the Aboriginal Indigenous people. We have a right to bear arms. We have a constitutional right to that. These Negroes today are not talking constitutional right. They're talking civil rights acts. And then remember Cuba. Remember 1929 Pan American Conference, Cuba, Noble Drew Ali, Cuba. Coretta Scott King traveled to Vietnam to demonstrate her solidarity with the Viet Cong. How come she didn't go to Africa? I didn't go to the yellow guys. Why did you go to the yellow guys? Oh, because they're not yellow. They're human beings and they have rights. And they're Aboriginal and Indigenous people. So yes, we're going to support them. The increasingly visible and riveting voice of SNCC, also found an energetic supporter in Kwame Ture, brackets Stokely Carmichael, who eventually visited Ho Chi Minh, Sekou Touré, and Kwame Nkrumah. It was Touré's visit to Cuba in 1967, however, that was most pivotal. The occasion was the first conference of the Latin American Solidarity Organization, which aimed partly to counter Western influence in the hemisphere and to promote solidarity with the revolutionary movements throughout the Third World. More than 700 delegates and observers convened in Havana for approximately 2 weeks to discuss the fundamental problem of US imperialism from Vietnam to Venezuela and to develop a comprehensive strategy for ending it. Isn't that the same stuff that you people are complaining about today? How come Kwame Ture, you guys black guy, was meeting with Cubans, Latin Americans, who were forming a solidarity organization, which aim was partly to counter the Western influence. Because they're family. Unity was going on. It's all the sellouts after that people listen to is why we're in the BS that we're in right now. Because everybody was on it. You think Black Panthers exercising boots to the ground with guns and all that stuff was because they were Black? You better FOH. You think because they were Black, they were a bunch of Black guys with guns, that's why people were afraid or whatever? You have to be in full life in order to stand on the constitutional rights. You can't be stateless. You can't be Negro slave. And again, look at the example. They had, like when you say, how many of these individuals were really on the same wavelength? The ones that we look at today, like, oh yeah, we honored him. He died, so we're gonna say, yeah, put the white balloons up for him as the anniversary of his death and all this BS. We're not implementing some of the stuff that they were talking about if you rep them so hard. We rep Drew Ali. We got more Science Temple out here. That's how we rep him. That's how we rep Moorish Divine National Movement. That we have that as a representation of what this man brought 100 years ago. That's how we stand on him and what he brought. Because we know that what he brought was the salvation for our people who are playing like they're saved because they know some Egyptian god and they do some Egyptian yoga. The ancestors got their back. What's your status? Like I could say that like I dissolved the license. So they can't use that as, hey, let me see ID. If they ask for ID, they're getting nationality card. Because I don't have license to give them because I gave that up. Because I realized what that was. I said, I'm just not dealing with that. I want nothing to do with that. Sent it back. Thank you letter. So they don't take it personal. Just because we're in this jurisdiction, so why not represent it to the best that it could be represented? If we say we back this. People say they back Khalid. Khalid said he's a Moor. Khalid says he's the Moor. You guys need the how high powder in the hand slap. That's what some of you people need to bring you back to your senses. Because you lost your mind. Why is this man going to Cuba to go talk about stand up to some U.S. imperialism? That's the same stuff that Moors are saying today, right now. We're not Negro black colored. We're Moors. So you can't use your imperial whatever on us. Right? Now they thought Moors go to jail. Moors go to jail because of the ripple effect of blacks that go to jail. Because they're willingly going. So if we're all one family and you're willingly jumping in the kill us machine, Because you know that our stuff is shared through generations. Crack era taught us that. This stuff could be done, but our people want to play games and not realize what's up. All you want to do is play games, right? Always playing games. That's all they want to do. Play like they don't know. Make mockery of Moors. That's all. Right? So if the people in America are Moors, and Christopher Columbus knew and traveled with Moors, wouldn't he just call them Moors instead of Indians? Well, let's look up Indian. Jackass. Indian. Inhabit of India or South Asia pertaining to India. So the only way that Christopher Columbus would have called the people who he saw here Indians is because he thought he was in India. Now, if Europe is where it is, and India is where it is, and America is where it is, and you really think the story that they told that this guy came over here and thought he was in India, when we just told you that the Moors were on the boat with him with the maps. He wasn't behind no sailing nothing. He was a spectator. He wasn't on the field. You know how mesmerized these people were when they came here? And then when they came here, the Moors got off the boat and they're talking to the people who are supposedly the natives here in their language. Remember, this is supposed to be the new world. Nobody's supposed to be over here. This is supposed to be barren land. And then you get over here and people have culture and society and stuff going on here. And then they look just like the people who brought you over here that you did whatever to in Spain. You know, and then you dust off the hands. You got those niggers or whatever. And you go across the waters and then you bump into niggers again. You don't get it. Still don't get it, huh? Right? So think about that to answer your question. Think about that. Wouldn't he just call them Moors instead of Indians? He didn't call them Indians. We're going to tell you Christian black codes. You're not going to believe that. You're going to say some King James quoting some King James or whatever. But you're going to go with this guy in his log or whatever said he found Indians. Think this guy is an ass? Think he didn't leave Spain with strict orders of what's supposed to be going on? Don't forget that Granada was a stronghold. It wasn't the stronghold. It was the stronghold in that part of the Moorish Empire. But that wasn't a stronghold for everywhere. But like we said, he came over here and he saw Indians. So he saw Indians here. Thought he was in India. He thought he was in India. But he didn't bring interpreters that speak Hindi. But he's going to India though. He's looking for India, trying to find India. They sent him to the New World, remember? And he went to India. That's really what you're going with? When the Moors were on those ships who've been over here 500 billion times, back and forth across that Atlantic. They don't know where they're going. They oops, wrong turn, and they end up in India. These are the type of nonsensical people that are out here with pages and stuff like that, talking about they're putting out information to help their people be free. You're not helping their people free if you're telling them they're not Moors. If you keep playing the BS, like Moors aren't Aboriginal and Indigenous and Autochthonous. Like, what do you mean you're all those things but you're not Moors? How? How? How are you in the pot, simmering, talking about you're not dinner? Stop the BS. And then supposedly this is how the Moor answers when asked this question about Moors and Indians.
A very vaginative proposition, my man. That is to say, prostitution pertaining to the Kotet. You understand?
If I declare my nationality to be a Moor and join the nation, who will have jurisdiction over me and who will be my sultan? Well, you wouldn't have a sultan right now if you declared your nationality. And you would have jurisdiction over yourself to govern yourself accordingly with regard to universal laws. If you don't want to go with that, go talk to Ma'at. She got laws and gave you laws too. But you don't want to go with that? Okay, go talk to the Dogon. They got their own laws. But you don't want that? Okay, go talk to the Hebrews. They got laws. When I talk to some Christian King James Bible BS. When I talk to the Rastas got laws. They got laws on now, not some King James Bible BS. Ancient laws. But you have jurisdiction over yourself. Because you have to now start taking responsibility because you're not Negro, Black, or colored anymore. You're now part of the human family. So you better find your nation, which is the point of declaring your nationality. So that, for example, one of the mothers is down to Mother Naeem. Mother was just walking and for the first time realized a Moroccan flag hanging on a home in her jurisdiction. Now she's somebody who, we build, we talk, we know each other. And one of the things that's always been on her mind is how come there's nobody here that knows anything? Like I'm turban every day, all day. I'm talking to other people. They're saying that they're walking around. Moors are running out the stores to them and all that stuff. Like, hey, Moor and all that. You're a Moor and all that. Nothing happened. And then she sees a Moroccan flag first time. because she's part of a nation. She declared her nationality. So having a national mindset, you will recognize your national insignia. You would recognize your national representation. And then other people would recognize your national representation. And depending on the relations between yours and theirs, ancient foremothers and forefathers, then you know what type of relationship you're going to have with them. So in quote unquote Sri Lankan culture, they know that it's Ceylon, not Sri Lanka. So when they're dealing with Moors, and Moors are telling them about, we know where you're coming from as a brother, because we know how the same people came into your land and changed it to whatever. And they'll be like, yeah. And they would say, yeah. And then whatever's a corporation, right? Yeah. And they're pretending to be the real government of wherever you're from, right? Yeah. Okay. Same thing that's going on here. Because why? Nationality. Why did Kwame Ture go link with the brothers and sisters in Latin America that were having their solidarity organization? Why didn't he go to some black BS? Why didn't he go to some African whatever? Why is he going to unite with the Latin solidarity organization? Yeah, because he's from Trinidad and Tobago. And that's right next to Venezuela, which is Latin America. Because it's all America. Trust me, he studied under Dr. Eric Williams too. So he knows what's up with regard to who are the real natives around here. No, he never mentioned Moors or nothing like that. But he did mention that the dark-skinned people, those are who are the real natives around here. Whether they were 3 feet tall, whether they were 8 feet tall, it wasn't any non-melanated natives. And the if I declare my nationality is really colored because you're already a Moor. It's not like you're black and then you're trying to be a Moor. You're a Moor that's just passive. You're a Moor that doesn't know yourself. So you're subject to every jurisdiction. Every jurisdiction has jurisdiction over you because you're claiming to be nothing. And then when you do claim something, it's a fraud that was created by somebody who doesn't look like you. Then you claim something else, and then that's a fraud created by somebody who doesn't look like you. Then you claim something else, and that might have been something that was created by somebody that does look like you, but they work for the people who don't look like you. Right? Only reason there's a mention of a sultan is because of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship that set up this jurisdiction that we're complaining about. The same U.S. jurisdiction that Kwame Ture was going to connect with the Cubans to make sure that, you know, he's at the table for his people. Because they're moving toward being a free society, not needing anything from these people. because they're not really about what they present. So they have that right to say, no, we want to be our own jurisdiction. So no one will have jurisdiction over them. Which is the same reason why you have to start studying this information about the Moors if you don't. Don't take this light like it doesn't matter or whatever. Don't get fooled into that. Don't get fooled into that. Native American Muslim. My name is Mahir Abdal Razak L. Native American Muslim now. My name is Mahir Abdal Razak L. I am a Cherokee Blackfoot American Indian who is Muslim. I am known as Eagle Sunwalker. I serve as a pipe carrier warrior for the Northern Band of Cherokee Indians in New York City. There are other Muslims in our group. For the most part, not many people are aware of the Native American contact with Islam that began over 1,000 years ago by some of the early Muslim travelers who visited us. Some of these Muslim travelers ended up living among our people. For most Muslims and non-Muslims of today, this type of information is unknown and has never been mentioned in any of the history books. There are many documents, treaties, legislation, and resolutions that were passed between the 1600s and the 1800s that show that Muslims were in fact here and were very active in the communities in which they lived. Treaties such as peace and friendship that was signed on the Delaware River in the year 1787 bear the signatures of Abdel Kak and Mohammed ibn Abdullah. This treaty details our continued right to exist as a community in the areas of commerce, maritime shipping, current form of government at the time, which was in accordance with Islam. According to a federal court case from the Continental Congress, we helped put the breath of life into the newly framed Constitution. All of the documents are presently in the National Archives as well as the Library of Congress. If you have access to records in the state of South Carolina, read the Moors Sundry Act of 1790. In a future article, inshallah, I will go into more details about this, about the various tribes, their languages, in which some are influenced by Arabic, Persian, and Hebrew words. Almost all of the tribes' vocabulary include the word Allah. The traditional dress code for Indian women includes the kima and long dresses. For men, standard fare is turbans and long tops that come down to the knees. If you were to look at any of the old books on Cherokee clothing up to the time of 1832, you will see men wearing turbans and women wearing long head coverings. The last Cherokee chief who had a Muslim name was Ramadan ibn Wati of the Cherokees, 1866. Ramadhan Ibn Wati. Cities across the United States and Canada bear names that are of Indian and Islamic derivation. Have you ever wondered what the name Tallahassee means? It means that He, Allah, will deliver you sometime in the future. That was from jannah.org, JANNAH.org, and articles on natives. So that's another reference point now. That they're talking about all this Muslims and Native Americans, whatever like that, and the reference point they tell you go check is the Sundry Free Moors. They tell you some Indian BS to go check. No black tribe of whatever. They sent you to the Moors to go get verification as to what it means that we're not under the Negro Acts. Because remember, that was dealing with people who aren't even from here. But you say that you're Moors, and then you're protected. You just connect yourself to Moors, and trust me, you're protected. The Europeans can't do nothing to you if you're saying that you're Moors. Because no matter what they do to you, you know that man is spirit, not the flesh, if you're a Moor. So it matters not what these people do. They're going to do what they're going to do anyways. Don't let them play you out of your right to be a Moor. You have a right to be a Moor. Nobody have no jurisdiction over you. Even if they claim they have jurisdiction over you, I bet you they got it through colorable law. Color of authority. Colorable titles. Bet you. If they do claim to have jurisdiction, I bet you they have some type of contract with your name on it, but their name's not on it. Bet you. Which is why, you know, we impress on Moors that you better study. Study, study. And when you finish and you're walking around like, yeah, chest out, no, you go back, go study yourself now. And that should take you the rest of your life. There ain't no end to the studying of self. That's why that was the last study. Because that study is going to see who's really real in this. You can study history and all that BS all you want. Let's get to study self. Let's study those little dark corners in your being that you never been to. Stuff that you never dealt with. Go to those places. Let's study self. So that we can find out that there's way more brighter places within ourselves than dark corners. So let's focus on the bright things, which would activate certain things in us as beings. And then all of us being together and saying the same thing and thinking the same thing and studying the same thing. And don't let them play you. And then again, you know, you got the more answering, the more giving his answer.
Let me be venereal in my requisition for this body of congregation, see, for the personal gratification of my urethra.
How come Morocco doesn't claim the Moors in America as descendants of Moroccans? Now, if this question is being asked, obviously you know the history of Morocco. So if you know the history of Morocco, you know that there's a Moroccan kingdom and a Moroccan empire. And if you know anything about kingdom and empires, you know that kingdoms have no say when it comes to an empire. All they're responsible for is their kingdom jurisdiction. So if Morocco has been going around and calling themselves a kingdom for all this time, never ever once did they ever say that they're the empire of Morocco. They always say that they're the kingdom of Morocco. Why would a kingdom that came after the Moors claim the Moors as being part of their kingdom? Shouldn't he be asking Moors if they claim Morocco as part of the empire? That's what the question really should be. Because why would you go ask the slave master what happened to the slave? You just go ask the slave what happened. Morocco can't claim Moors. But the fact that you go talk to Moroccans and they'll always bring up the treaty, and over here is Islamic and Muslims are respected here or whatever, that's because of what Muslims went through and did, not what Muslims did. Muslims are feeding off what Muslims did in ancient times. There was no Muslims in ancient times. There were Muslims, but there were no Muslims in ancient times. Those were Moors. Those people of ancient times that people tie themselves to every time some Islamic whatever comes up, and it's Moors they're tying themselves to. It's not some Muslim Islamic whatever, it's the Moors they're tying themselves to. And Noble Drew Ali already told the world. Because remember, the Moorish Guide newspaper is where the 101 questionnaire was. It wasn't in a book like what we have today. It was in a newspaper. Because in the newspaper, anybody who had subscription, anybody who wanted a paper could get that information. So the world knows that we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. It's not something that he just brought up. Didn't you hear the guy in the beginning that people before Columbus, Muslims from over there came over here and they were chilling with the natives? Like family. You're gonna see my cousin that lives across over there. So somehow these people are looking at it today, that those guys over there, and then those guys, and they didn't call themselves whatever, and they didn't call themselves this, so they weren't unified and saying that. Trust, they all knew that when you see another brother in a turban, we're the same stuff. And then on top of that, we're going to talk the same language. We're definitely the same stuff. But they don't want you to see it that way. They want you to look at it like there's some separation between you and Moors. There's a separation. If you're dark skinned, you're a Moor. What part of the world are you from? What's your geographical location? Oh, it's Sudan? Oh, so you're a Sudanese Moor. America? Oh, you're a more American. It's not advanced. But yeah, you have to let the Moor answer.
allow me to partologize myself. Suppositorily speaking, my incarceration has forced, you understand, the ventilation of, shall I say, my dairy air.
Missed that one. Missed that one I was drinking.
I say my dairy air.
Did your elders tell you that you were a Moor? Did your elders tell you that you were a Moor? Indirectly told me. So the biggest example, for example, is something's wrong. Grandma's either going to send you or she's going to go pick something from outside, bring it inside, either put it in the mortar and pestle and grind it up, or put it in water, boil it, pour it out for you, plug your nose, shove it down your throat, whatever, and then you feel better. Now, that plant or those plants that she went to that were in the yard, obviously she got put onto that. That's what that was. You know, that person got put on, and that person got put on, that person got put on. Now, from my mom's perspective, because this is on her side of the family, she always, even when we were Black Power, she would be stressing that we're not from no Africa and we're not, you know, those type of people. We weren't slaves and all that stuff. What do you mean we weren't slaves? What do you mean? You see the pictures of the boats and then you get into your BS or whatever. No, we weren't no slaves. So dumb mind, you don't know that you're being told that you're a Moor. When your dad has a name that has the L in it, and then they give you that name as well as the L in it, and then you go through life all these years, and then you come into this information that we're not Negro, Black, colored, we're Moors, and then the names of the Moors are Bay and Al and Day and Ali and El. And you've been had L on your name all these years, and it did nothing registered at all whatsoever until you got on this information. Yeah, elders kind of told me that I was a Moor indirectly. And my dumbass was too blind to see it. Because I look at it now, I was like, damn, I should have picked up, I could have picked that. I should have picked up on that. Because they've been writing that name for 40 years. You know that L's right there? You realize that L's right there. All these years. Born with that. Didn't see the L there. So yeah, they were told. But then as we know, this, the elders, even though they got the ringer, You know they got the ringer. They had a good little code spirit thing going on for us to be able to tap back in and stuff like that right now. Well, they were definitely on to something on the spirit level. You know, we give thanks to all the elders that did their best, you know, to keep things together. But you did enough. You did enough that we're here knowing what our nationality and birthrights is now. We're not guessing. We're definitely not guessing. We're on this. So we give supreme thanks to all of the elders, all the ancestors, whatever part they played in our demise or rise. You know, we say we thank you because you gave us some things to consider. You gave us a lot to consider. You know. And then of course, once again, they're gonna have to let the Moor respond to the question.
It's the adolescent Dukakis that is calculated, you understand, by the insane or Hussein, depending on the confrontation forthwith.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
They're not sovereign. Not here. Then why are they constantly going to jail? Morocco doesn't recognize them.
And let me tell you right now, I'll just go ahead and say it. You motherfuckers signing papers, I'm the one to tell you, your ass is getting ready to go to jail. Because you're some greedy ass motherfuckers and you're signing papers. You fuck around with all these feds-wearing motherfuckers that don't know what the fuck they're doing, your ass going into jail.
You may not have heard of the Moorish...
No. He was very clear. He was very clear that he wasn't dissing Moors across the board. He wasn't, they pushed this on there to make you think that Bobby Hemmett is against the Moors. And all Moors are Fezwer and mother effers. You see what you heard opposed to what was said? Which is why people get mad and then they want to go run to YouTube and cry about somebody use their stuff when they're slandering people out here. Right? Again, your own, which is what Noble Drew Ali taught Moors, which is why we don't get played like that by our own. Because we already know what to expect from these Negroes. That they're about sellout. They're about sell you out. They're going to put the scholar up there and have some dumb person assume that Hemmett's just against Moors across the board.
You motherfuckers signing papers, I'm the one to tell you, your ass is getting ready to go to jail.
That again, remember which Moors he's talking about that's going to get you in jail. It's not Moors all across the board that are going to get you in jail. He's talking about specific Moors. He's being very specific of the Moors that he's referring to. That's going to get people in jail.
Because you're some greedy ass motherfuckers and you're signing papers. You fuck around with all these feds-wearing motherfuckers that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh. All these Fez-wearing mother effers that don't know what they're doing. Those are the ones that get your ass locked up. How does he know? Because he's a student of C. Freeman L., who's a Moor. So FOH about Bobby Hemmett hates Moors. He's a student of C. Freeman L. did lectures in memory of C. Freeman and all that. And this is how these people play you, because they never ever play you all the stuff. They always play you what they want you to hear, so you could jump on their little bandwagon with this more hating BS that's going on.
So we got magic and stuff, and I'm not trying to say that there's not a lot of Moorish brokers who's not legitimate, but you got too many bogus motherfuckers out here spoiling it for other people. That's
Oh, so that's what's going on. There's too many bogus mother effers out here. That's what the problem is. The problem is that people are following the bogus mother effers. And then they get jammed up, and then they never ever call out those mother effers that jammed them up. They're gonna diss Moors altogether. I don't want to be a Moor. And then they start talking BS about Moors. And they start slandering Moors and making little stupid videos, wisecracking on Moors. How come you guys don't dare do that? Make some videos disrespecting some Chinese culture. We dared you about 2 years ago. Ain't nobody did anything. All these Koreans that's in your neighborhood raping you, toxifying your goddamn fingers with all this BS, toxifying your lungs. They're sitting there with masks on. Your dumbass is sitting there breathing all the stuff. Like a dumbass. You're sitting there breathing in all the stuff. They got masks on. And you're paying them. You got nerve to talk about Moors aren't doing something? You're sitting there breathing in BS. With the people who's putting on the stuff, they're wearing masks though. You don't get it yet. You don't get it. Right? Moore sent me some BS, some lady in a nail shop or something, getting choked out by a dude. Miss her chin choking her out. Leg on my neck, my neck, and all that stuff. Highwaymen reach. That look just like her, or security or whatever. And they're taking her away somewhere to talk to her, calm her down. They're not gonna calm down Miss Chin, who choked her out. It's not the Moorish issue, it's the black issue is the problem. The Negro issue is the problem. The nigger industry is the problem. Too many people that don't want to be Moors is the problem, not Moors. But trust me, our internal stuff, that's already handled. Issues internally. Moors know what's up with regard to people outside are confused about what's what, because they look at all these people with turbans and feathers on are legit Noble Drew Ali honoring faithful, loyal Moors. But they're not. Don't put all the eggs in one basket, dumbass. Especially on the back of the bike. You put all the eggs in one basket? Okay. Don't you dare diss the master teacher, implying that he's a Moor hater when he's a student of C. Freeman L. Who's one of the most divine Moorish Americans that was sent to Moors. Hammett studied from him. When Hammett was skinny, he was studying from C. Freeman L. Think about that. When Hammett was skinny, he was studying C. Freeman L. Student. Like we said, just go watch the In Honor of C. Freeman L. lecture. In memory of C. Freeman L. Why would you do that? That's a Moor. I thought Moors are like, you know, fez-wearing mother effers. He's gonna go do a honorary lecture for a fez-wearing mother effer? Really? No, C. Freemanella wasn't the Moors that he was talking about, that he was referring to. You guys playing games. Playing games. Stop playing.
What I'm trying to tell you. You see what I'm saying? I can count at least 50 motherfuckers in jail for doing this shit wrong. And so as a result, even like TJ said, he said,
Oh, why they in jail? Because what? You're doing stuff wrong. Because Moors that do stuff right, they don't go to jail. Just go to Mario L. Bay's page, Moreno Bay, and just go watch the video of the Moor that got pulled over. Just go watch that. If you just think, you know, that this is some BS or whatever, you know. Just in case you think it's some BS. Matter of fact, because you think it's some BS, let's just look for it right now. Just so that, you know, just so that we can put it on the record. Might as well.
I'm always work pulled over. Let's see what this is about.
Hey, sir.
Yeah.
The reason I'm pulling you over, man, I was right behind you. We were doing 80 and a 55.
Okay.
You have license, registration,
No,
insurance?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't need that to travel. I'm a Moorish American national traveling to Morocco. I don't have to have. There you go.
I just wanted to say, for the record, this Moor is Digit's twin. So, Brother Jed Islam, but when I heard this Moor right here, this Moor had me tripping out because he sounds just like the brother. Had me tripping.
How's it get at you, how?
What's the deal, man? Can you roll this window down?
No, you can read that right there.
So I can talk to you.
I'm talking to you. Am I not? Can you not hear me clear enough? And you're also being video and audio recorded.
I understand. That's
fine. All right. If you read that, you will.
Okay, you don't have a license plate on your vehicle.
If you read,
you don't have driver's license.
If you read the paper, it will answer all of your questions.
What is this paper?
Explains to you policy enforcers that I have the inalienable right to travel without a driver's license, insurance, or state issued valid driver's license. This, I mean, if you read the first two lines on that paper, it's on there, and it's.
Well, that's fine. I just, like I said, I don't have. You're not telling me any information. You're not telling me who you are.
I don't have.
I tell you why I pulled you over.
You're absolutely right.
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 Okay.
For you pulled me over for what reason again?
Because I'm on the highway right next to you, and you're doing 80 and a 55 all the way up here.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's against the law.
It's not against the law.
To speed?
As a matter of fact, do you have a supervisor I can speak to? Because I'm going to exercise my inalienable right to remain silent. Because you won't. I've given you the paperwork. You won't even look at it to read it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get one started.
All
okay?
right.
Go ahead and get your driver's license.
Let's see how this works.
We're going to save you the.
All right.
Sir Navila, you were asking for a sergeant?
Yes, I was. I don't see a reason why I was stopped.
The officer said that you were going 80. This is a 65-mile-an-hour zone on the highway. Were you aware of that?
That's a posted suggested speed limit.
That's a speed limit. Not a suggested speed limit. It's a speed limit.
Okay.
Is that what the sign says? Speed limit?
That's what it states on the sign.
Limit, right? So that's a state speed limit, correct?
You are absolutely 100% correct. Right. A corporate state speed limit. You're right.
And that's the reason why he stopped you.
Okay.
Also, you didn't have a license plate on your vehicle.
Right. So it's not required.
Not registered in the state of Colorado.
It's not required.
Whenever you cargo bicycle.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So whenever you're traveling on the state of Colorado roadway, it needs to be registered in the state of Colorado.
That's not true, sir.
Yes, sir, it is. That's the reason why we have license plates.
If you're a corporate entity that adheres to the corporate laws, then yes, you are 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
You're a licensed driver in the state of Colorado, sir?
I'm not licensed in any state to drive.
Okay. So in the state of Colorado,
I'm exercising my inalienable right to travel.
You're required to have a driver's license to travel on the state of Colorado roadway.
That is not true, sir. But I'm not going. It's not an argument for the side of the road.
Either. I'm just trying to get this rectified.
As am I, because I'm on my way to work and I'm late.
My officer's just pulling you over because you're traveling 80 miles an hour and opposed to 65 mile an hour speed limit. That's the reason why my officer's pulling you over.
Okay.
Okay. And that's what he was trying to explain to you. Is that
no, I understood that. I understood that was the reason for him, or his reason for stopping me. I understood that.
Right. So right now, all he's doing is conducting a traffic stop. So he's trying to find out who you are and explain the traffic infraction to you as to why he was stopping you. That's the only thing he was doing.
Okay, if you can ask him, I didn't argue with him or anything.
We're perfectly fine, sir.
Okay.
And I'm not arguing with you either. I'm just explaining. That's all, because you requested a sergeant to come here. So I'm just advising you of what it is that he advised me.
Okay.
And that's all.
All right.
So did you supply him with your name and date of birth?
No, I didn't supply him with anything. It's not required. Here, I'll give you this as well.
Okay.
I mean, this is Supreme Court law. So what you're saying is law that you're going by. I'm going by the Constitution, which you guys took an oath to, which is law in this country. It's law.
Right.
It states I don't have to identify myself, or I don't have to have quote unquote state issued license plates, registration, or driver's license. I'm not driving. Driving is conducting commerce. I am traveling. Look up the definition. I'm just stating facts. All right.
Now let's just go back to this quick fast, right? Let's just go back to this. Look at the difference, okay?
You motherfuckers signing papers, I'm the one to tell you, your ass is getting ready to go to jail. Because you're some greedy ass motherfuckers and you're signing papers. You fuck around with all these feds wearing motherfuckers that don't know what the fuck they're doing, your ass going into jail.
You may not have heard.
Right? Now, just to put this in perspectives, the individual who he contacted that you saw in the beginning with the text message or whatever, he got 9 charges dismissed without an attorney. So trust that this brother behind this wheel is not one of these fez-wearing mother effers out here that don't know what they're doing. Because his student, his teacher, his brother, his affiliate got 9 charges dismissed without an attorney. That's the perspective that he's coming in from that realm. He's not coming in from this some religion, Holy Quran, go pray, face the east, and that's all we do. It's not just that only. You're a different realm. This is not a mercenary interacting with a black guy who doesn't have a license and a black guy who doesn't have plates and a black guy who doesn't. That's not what's going on here. This is a Moor who, without anybody standing up for him or whatever, without him having some group of Moors that he's going to run to because something might happen, so we have to, so we can get extractions done of whatever. You're not none of that. He's exercising what he knows. What he knows is he has constitutional rights. And he has a right to stand on those rights. And, oh, not even yet, before I say that.
You're certainly traveling, but the thing is, you're traveling on a state roadway.
Sir,
if you were traveling like on a rural roadway, things like that, that's certainly different.
Sir, I've run into state troopers, I run into federal agents, and the same applies. It's Supreme Court law, which is the highest law. It was the supreme law of the land.
Right.
That is fact. That's why I have private property in the back of my window, registration. I mean, I've been through this several times.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you don't want to supply the officer with your name or date of birth or anything like that?
I'm not required to by law.
So what you're saying is that you don't want to?
I'm not required to by law, sir.
I'm asking you whether you want to.
My name is Tariq.
Tariq, thank you, sir. May I ask?
And I'm late to work.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That'll be all right.
Just curious as to what your travel is. Where are you going from here?
I'm going to Longmont. I'm traveling to Longmont.
You're going to Longmont.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Here's your paperwork back. Okay. I'm going to ask you for a favor. Okay. You're traveling in the municipality of Thornton, city of Thornton, state of Colorado. Okay. When you're traveling through our city, can you?
Right. Listen to how. Listen to the highwayman. Remember when certain people were asking stuff? Are the more sovereign in the U.S.A. But U.S.A. is not a country, so somebody can't be sovereign of that. But let's hear how the highwayman breaks down what the sub-jurisdiction, right? The sub-jurisdiction of U.S.A., right? So a sub-jurisdiction called municipality. Listen to how he breaks it down.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That'll be all right.
Just curious as to what your travel is. Where are you going from here?
I'm going to Longmont. I'm traveling to Longmont.
You're going to Longmont.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Here's your paperwork back. Okay. I'm going to ask you for a favor. Okay. You're traveling in the municipality of Thornton, city of Thornton, state of Colorado. Okay. When you're traveling through our city, can you please adhere to the speed limit? Not suggested speed limit. So that way the officer does not have to contact you. Is that an agreement we can have?
That's an agreement we can have.
Very good, sir. Then you can be on your way.
All right.
If you're good with, this is the officer that stopped you, just so that you know who stopped you.
Okay.
Okay. And again, like I said, it was for the speed limit violation that you didn't have a driver's license. This is the officer that stopped you, just so that you know.
Now, once again, right? Big bold letters, disclaimer. Do not try this if you're a Negro, black, colored, dumb Negro, conscious community, whatever. Don't, because we know that this brother's a Moor. He's not some black guy trying some stuff. He's a Moor. He's somebody who has studied, declared, proclaimed his position and he's standing on what it is that he knows. This is what he's doing. It's only for him. It has nothing to do with anybody else. This is just a billboard on your path toward knowing thyself. There's a billboard of somebody's product to help you know thyself better, inspire you to be more. That's all. You gotta take anything from you don't even gotta try the product. The billboard was just there to let you know. These things are available if you're interested, but you're not under any obligation to, oh, he said that, I'm gonna go and then tomorrow take my plates off and I'm gonna say that and then they're gonna let me do what. Yeah, because you might not get the guy that he got. You might get Jerky Boy. You might get RoboCop. If you get RoboCop, will you know what to do? How would you handle RoboCop if you tried this and it was RoboCop at the thing? And RoboCop has the machine that you just have to swipe. What did he tell him? What did RoboCop tell him? RoboCop said, do me a favor. When you're driving through our municipality, when you're driving through our corporation, follow the speed limit. Not go get a license for the state or whatever, or go get some plates. They didn't even talk about insurance. Insurance didn't even come up. Follow the speed limit. Follow the speed limit, that's it? That's it, just follow the speed limit. All of this just to follow the speed limit. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Follow the speed limit. How come you didn't tell him go get a license? Like, why didn't he go tell him get a license? Next time we stop you, you better have a license. How come he didn't say that? How come he told him, how about drive the speed limit so we don't have a reason to stop you? For all you Moors out there who like to get stopped. This is the highwayman said, real simple. Gave up the key to never get stopped ever by these people. How about drive the damn speed limit? You won't have a reason to see that you don't even have plates on. Let's hear him put that on the record again.
Tariq, thank you, sir. May I ask?
And I'm late to work.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm all right. Just curious as to what your travel is. Where are you going from here?
I'm going to Longmont. I'm traveling to Longmont.
You're going to Longmont.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Here's your paperwork back. Okay. I'm going to ask you for a favor. Okay. You're traveling in the municipality of Thornton, city of Thornton, state of Colorado. Okay. When you're traveling through our city, can you please adhere to the speed limit? Not suggested speed limit. So that way the officer does not have to contact. Is that an agreement we can have?
That's an agreement we can have.
Right? So one of these Moors right here. Right, one of these Moors.
Your ass is getting ready to go to jail. Because you're some greedy ass motherfuckers.
Right? Those Moors right there. Those Moors right there are so goddamn greedy. They wouldn't have took that window that highwayman just gave him. They would argue, well, it's not a limit. It's a suggested speed limit. I don't have to follow the limit because I'm more. And then that'll be one of these dumbasses that Hemet's talking about that you don't want to be around. Take it from Moors who actually study. Take it from Moors who study. There's Moors out there that you probably don't want to be messing with. You probably don't want to be messing with them. Be mindful. Be very mindful who you're getting information from. But I guess, you know, being a Moor doesn't work, right? Now, being a Moor doesn't work. Being a Moor is just, you know, some BS that these black guys are doing. You know? So we're gonna go to a master teacher, one of our master teachers again. Jose Pimienta Bay, Othello's Children in the New World, page 54. In the 1858 work entitled The Origin of the North American Indians, author John McIntosh stated, the North American Indians are of Asiatic origin. The North American Indians are of Asiatic origin. You know, Jwali say something about we're Asiatics or something like that? You know, Jwali has something in his Holy Quran, something about Asiatic nations in there. So hold on a sec. So if these people today are saying that they're autochthonous and Aboriginal and Indigenous and Native American and Cherokee and all these tribes of whatever, then how come their origin, according to John McIntosh, who's obviously some type of, you know, scholar or whatever, in his book, The Origin of the North American Indians, his research found that the North American, not a group of or whatever, the American Indians, remember, American is a copper tone, whatever like that. It's not Negro, black, colored, whatever, just copper tone. Americans, they're copper tone natives. So the copper tone natives are of Asiatic origin. Isn't that the same thing Noble Drew Ali said? So if he said that in 1858, that North Americans are Asiatic, and then Noble Drew Ali was Cherokee, but he never repped that he was Cherokee. He never repped that he was Native American. He never repped I'm Indigenous. He never repped I'm Aboriginal. He never repped I'm Autochthonous. He said we're Moors, instead of saying he's all those other stuff. And he was Cherokee. So if he was Cherokee, and then he said that we're Asiatics, interesting. Let's see what else we find in here. Let's see what else we find in here. That is very interesting. Page 69. Page 69. The presence of the titles El and Bay among both African and American Indian people is also significant, as they are both used by Moorish Science Temple Muslims. Oh, the presence of the titles El and Bay among both African and American Indian people. African and American Indian? African and American Indians use the titles El and Bay? Why would some American Indians be using the title El and Bay if they're not Moors? The Onondaga of the Iroquois nation used the title EEL as both a title and a family name. They say that Eel clan sprung from the Seneca River. The Eel clan is known to be one of the principal lines of chiefs in the work of William Beauchamp. The name of a prominent Iroquois man, Sodas Bay, phonetically corresponds to the Moorish title of Bay. Although Sheikh Anta Diop doesn't present an etymological or historical origin for the name Bay, he does mention the presence of the Bay clan in Senegal, West Africa. Diop identifies them as the Good Luck family. Diop says that Bay was one of the Kaurian dynastic clans who, quote unquote, systematically refused to embrace Islamic religion. This appears somewhat peculiar given the fact that Bay would become so closely associated with an Islamic Muslim identity. Senegal is often referred to in Peter Martyr's book, Decades of the New World, which was translated to English in 1555. It indicated that Senegal was one of the regions of the Kingdom of Guinea, which is occupied by the Blackamoors called Ethiopians or Negroes. The Blackamoors called Ethiopian and Negroes. The Blackamoor called those names. Because the original names of these people that were dark-skinned was some type of connection, relation to Moors. It's not what we say. This is what the scholars say. This is what the scholars say. A Francis Moore, referred to in biographical sketches of loyalists of the American Revolution, is described as a native of America. Here, native seems to imply that he was an American Indian, and his New York home even suggests a connection with the Six Nations. The E-less spelling of his last name Moore strongly suggests that either his phenotype or nationality indicated Moorish ancestral ties. The same may have been true of a Hosea Moore of Stillwater, Albany County, New York. Hosea is recorded as a loyalist who joined the Royal Army in 1777. 1777, really? The Hosea Moore is recorded as joining in 1777. Crazy. Significantly, the late 19th century Scottish historian David McRitchie makes a rather matter-of-fact statement about the presence of Moors in North America while discussing the practice of various peoples darkening or blackening their faces. McRitchie writes, "Many brown-skinned faces have blackened their faces artificially. Example, certain Fijians in the present day and the Moors of North America in the days of William Penn." The Moors of North America in the days of William Penn? Has anybody even brought to our people's attention that there was Moors? There were Moors in the days of William Penn? Unfortunately, McRitchie doesn't explain why such brown-skinned Moors in North America blackened their faces in the first place. But his reference is highly intriguing. Reverend Eleazar Wheelock was the founder and director of a school whose name demands attention, Moors Indian Charity School. According to an original text published in 1811, the school was named for its major contributor, Joshua Moore, who donated money and a house in November 1763. But mysteriously, little information is given in any of the original sources about the school's generous namesake, Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore is simply referred to as a respectable farmer in Mansfield who made the first considerable donation to it. Students at Reverend Wheelock's school included members of the Iroquois League, Delaware, Narragansetts, Mohawks, and Mohegans. There were also independent English youth who initially attended and made up about half the student population. Independent English youth who initially attended and made up about half of the student population of the Moors Indian Charity School. Oh, that was page 72 for the Moors that are following along. Page 72. Page 77. In Mexico, Mande Muslims were in the majority, though there were some Fula, Tucular, and Mosi Muslims as well. The legacy of the Mande Muslims in Mexico today are seen in the Amerindian magic and the numerous places in Mexico which bear their name. In addition, we observe Mande Islamic religious traditions among the Indians and Mande words in the Nahuatl language, Othomi and Nanticoke language. Even today, some Indians pray facing the east. Again, it is significant that all such ethnic groups mentioned occupy the historic boundaries of Moorish dominions. The connection of the Nanticotes is particularly relevant as this Delaware-based nation specifically asserts Moorish origin and has a sister nation known as the Moors. Everybody jacking your birthright, and you're sitting here debating with Moors about why you're not Moors. Making stupid videos about why you're not Moors. You're not Moors? Page 79. Evidence cited by Wangara, Winters, Van Sertima, and others also illustrates the profound presence and impact of West African Muslim settlers in the Americas. Significantly, such Muslims came from within the boundaries of the old Moorish Empire. Even I can better appreciate what a Moroccan-born friend, Fatima Alawi, told me back in the autumn of 1993. 1993, Fatima had stayed with a Cherokee friend on a Cherokee reservation in South Carolina. She said that after having spoken with a Cherokee elder, he concluded their conversation with Salam Alaikum. She said that the elder insisted that it was Cherokee and not an Arabic phrase he picked up. You still want more? All right. You still want more? No more for you. FOH. You want to get it yet? Still playing? Still playing? All right. Still playing, huh? All right. Don't say the Moors never told you. Tracing the roots of South Carolina's Turks before they melt away. What's Turks doing in South Carolina? Just look that one up on your own. Means South Carolina Turks. What do you mean? South Carolina Turks? No, I'm pretty sure Turks are supposed to be from Turkey. Let's go do your research. You'll find so much stuff on how these people are playing you. Oh, yeah. For example, make sure you go read the Kadesh Treaty. And when you read the Kadesh Treaty, ask yourself, what does this sound like? What does this sound like? When you read it, when you go through it, Treaty of Kadesh. And then remember, put all the pieces in play relative to later things in history that are along these same lines of the Treaty of Kadesh and the players involved and the relation to the players, each playing whatever position they play. And see how successive this concept is of peace and friendship between enemies. Kadesh, Kadesh Treaty. Oh, and then don't forget, Moore just put it out there, Horace Butler talking about Kadesh was over here. Kadesh on this side. So we really want you to digest that your own is playing you. All these Aboriginal, Indigenous, Autochthonous, not Moors, are trying to get you, you know, in the bag when, you know, cat's out the bag already. Right? Cat's already out the bag. The secret's out. Don't need to play anymore. Just give the people back their stuff. So we're gonna try to see how this works. You notice that there's still a lot of slippage going on with some of our people, so we want to put this one out there. From Marion Horvat. Marion Horvat. Please say children, not kids. So you slip up people who like to call people's children kids and call your own children kids and stuff like that. Like you're not putting a hex on them. It was in the 1960s and 70s that slang term began to be introduced in certain circles that were trying to be up to date and modern. I am talking about the introduction of the word kids used to refer to children. It certainly wasn't common usage then. Kids was never used by a priest on the pulpit or a teacher in the classroom. Parents with any grain of culture did not call their children kids. The media, television, and radio broadcast, magazines, newspapers, and even advertisements shunned the term. Persons who prided themselves on a good English never used kids in their daily speech. I remember the first time my mother heard one of my brothers use the term, she reacted energetically. "You are not kids," she firmly told us, her children. "Kids are young goats. You are children." She was right. Kid comes from the Middle English kidde, kiddie, kid, of Scandinavian origin, akin to Old Norse, kid, K-I-D-H, a young goat. This was the first definition in my 1969 American Heritage Dictionary. Oh, the European looks up words, huh? When you want to see what they mean? Interesting. Interesting. How come it's so hard for our people to use a dictionary and look up stuff to know that when you're talking crazy? When you're talking about somebody's ratchet, you're not talking about tools. You sound crazy. Oh, well, I bought my hair and stuff like that. You sound crazy. It's not your hair. That's a horse hair. That's a lady who shaved her hair off and gave it to the Indian gods that these guys stole the hair and now you got it. European, looking up stuff in the dictionary. Only under the heading slang does it note that the word may also refer to one especially younger or less experienced. Example, the kid on the pro golf tour or poor kid. Today, if you go to an online dictionary, you would find a subtle but important difference in the definition. The first meaning is still a young goat, but now as a second or third definition, without the warning signal of slang, we are told that kid means young person or child. They did that? Been telling you. Just like everything else. Brother Abdullah Ben put it on the record. Watch for all these different entries that they got in the dictionary. Because the more entries, the more connotative the word. The more entries, the more tampered the definition. That is to say what once was considered vulgar jargon is now being accepted as part of everyday speech, just like what we put out with the Muta Baruka earlier. That jumping off a speaker on a girl lying on the floor is now the norm, called dancing in some type of parties. And gyrating on each other like you're actually having sexual intercourse is the norm now. People don't think that they're crazy doing stuff like that. Today, unfortunately, almost everyone calls children kids. I have even heard traditional priests preaching, parents, if you want your kids to say their prayers, you have to give the example. A bulletin for conservative parents notes that homeschooling is working well for the kids, even though the practice is coming under increasing suspicion and even attack, as in California. How paradoxical, I think. The same traditional-minded groups who are fighting the vulgar, dumbed-down influence of the schools are nonetheless adopting and thereby legitimizing the same vulgar, dumbed-down jargon of the masses in their daily language, just like calling people black. The dumbed-down jargon of the masses in their daily language. How crazy is it that you're really a Moor, but you're calling yourself black, but you won't call yourself Negro? That means black. Islam to Brother Sheldon L. for all his common sense quickies. Like jump over Negro. Why didn't you jump over Negro? Why? Right? How paradoxical. The same traditional-minded groups who are fighting the vulgar, dumbed-down influences of the schools are nonetheless, right, the same ones who are complaining about why are they doing that to black people? They shouldn't do that to black people. None of the black people this, black people that. Right, we just showed you how the Moor and the police engagement was. And that's a Moor who he studies and he's not just trying to get out of something or whatever. Being what he knows. And so the same way these people are complaining or whatever are the same way that they're adopting and thereby legitimizing the same BS that they're complaining about. And they don't want to get it. They think Moors are attacking them because Moors don't want to be black. For which, don't do with attacking anybody. It has to do with you don't want to accept the truth. That's all. If you don't want to accept the truth, then you stay there and you not accept the truth on your own. You just not accept the truth on your own. If you want to be playing games, then go on the black channels and stuff like that. Go play with those people. Islam to all the Moors everywhere. Wherever you're at, Moors, Islam. Peace and love. This was another Sons of Allah. So what we're going to do is September, we're going to get you twice in September to make up for this month. Everything's good with Ms. We were just helping somebody with something, and the time was going to conflict, so that's just what it was. But everything's straight. Peace and love to all the Moors everywhere that you're at, that you know about your nationality and birthrights. Islam. Make sure that you keep studying. Keep studying. Do not forget to keep studying. It's imperative. Don't give up on the studying. And don't forget, willofallah.com. You can go get that Iron Sheik 7. You can get that Iron Sheik 7 popping off. Because why not? Why not? You know, you could also get the WoW compilation. One of the craziest compilations. What I hear from people who've heard it. Crazy compilation. So Islam to all. Peace and love. Moors. Stay true to the cause. Don't forget Sunday class, 1 p.m. right here. Canaanland Moors 2. Spread the word. If you got questions, if you have questions, canaanlandguide@gmail.com. CANAANLANDGUIDE. canaanlandguide@gmail.com. And if you have any dues or donations, MST of A, period, do for nation 7 @gmail.com. MST of A, period, DOFORNATION, the number 7 @gmail.com. Islam Moors, peace and love, and to all a divine night and safe travels in the astrals later.
So I just want to get you in.
What? I'm rocking.
Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for your children, repping Friday 30s like Jason, without the killing. But we promote light, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his posture, might be talking to cops, giving them posture, occasionally wearing his fez when he's walking, see the turning heads, whispering, gawking.
but he's locked in and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house. Study the mystics, the adepts, the magi. Wisdom of the ancients can uncalcify eyes. Possible mission, free mental numbness. Extract the substance with minds of darkness. Use the source, don't care what some purport. As we know by being told, man knows not. Many before the floor, souls got caught. Placed in the devil's hands, ruling the seven lands. To dogma rituals, Negro spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past righteous blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyber thoughts. No need for cell phones, they speak from soft arms. It's nothing for alarm, chips and forearms.
Wind, brass, and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding to Henry's serenades. Whether this night's clear or gray, rain when you hear it fake, giving life to seed. Speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glimpse. And always look to these holes like hallucinary pimps. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prints. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no Jody. Deny you, you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of fears. The sun gon' shine for what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Wars don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack. This deep. Wars don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place and spoons on blocks, inspired spots, fill spaces, real back rats, who got cases, fire stain the corridors of Flemo faces, game changers, rule benders and no pretenders, style benders, channel my vibe through the vibe with optic lenses, send a message to our veterans, soldiers up and get it in, we on the birds, we on merge subliminal beings, third eye seeing, still I participate unwilling.
They wanna break me, shake, break me, rolling with my name G, double OMG, SON is crazy. For a minute that you think you could take me for a fool, like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. You mistaken me, spot is on the roof, in the dark trees, I've been saying you mistaken me. To better move, or I mark it, poetry is my tongue, to resistance to target, revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide, carried out in pockets, I knock it, down bulldozer, David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Out some big heads, moving and it's getting closer to your downfall, round up on your soldiers.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters straddling porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is to keep skeletons of dope, just to keep us afloat. Might as deep as the boat, bring us to lethal weapon. We want it to below. When I speak up, I'm broke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when they let me roll under my Louis fitted the semi-punk. Cause dirty cops are triggered, boy, yeah, the joke. The cost of living, higher profits and private printing. These little girls are sunny bodies just to pay tuition. These little niggas sunny niggas just for build condition. It's like this thing can never end the bridge and the mission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and me one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and one plan.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster? Gangster? Gangster?
Black power, my ass, y'all just playing the ass posing, frontin', no bustin', no dirty cock gun button. At least more's right, rich, trying to do something. Penners, my weapon, fences up in turbans, no bluffing. Don't get it twisted, sort of more get handcuffing. Judges dismiss cases, prosecutors cussing, telling my guys recuse themselves or get sued. Civil right leaders, your conscious blacks marching on news, stopping traffic, or people that didn't kill their sons and daughters. In Canaanland, we call you writing out of order. Nationality has me awake like a sleep disorder. While most wear blinders, my peripherals broader. For the record, I sweat nervous part reporters. In Admiralty, maritime shores, Moors walk on water. Ancients return with other kills, no sight blurred. While they stay killing their minds and saying they learn.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster? Gangster?
under that name before they became slaves. Seems like today it's only nicknames and pain. Usually learning so pain could stop from these vermin. German Nazi Inquisition is enslaving with sermons. Declared independence, still giving Moors reverence. Talking treaties with Muslims at Oval Office entrance. To the entrance masses, keep them docile and passive. Killing them, corralling blacks, acting like hostile fascists. Take oaths to break them, unless it's from the Lord. They give profits, we take them and neglect ancestors. Playing Mr. Tuffy, smoking a Dutch from the same master, bully stealing your money for lunch. Wanna drink from their bowl, cause they spike their punch. With Clorox, I'm not guessing, but I have a hunch. I can say I stand up to mercenary punks, while you face proposing with Glocks cocked and shotguns pumped.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster.
If you got guns and use them on targets moving. Try KKK badge carriers in your hood cruising. I'm not promoting violence, it's a point I'm proving. Moore's methods do work, but Coons disapproving. Pilot calling you out, but you're attacking the sheep and want to show me how good you are with your hands and feet. Never challenge a cop when they arresting your brother, but we'll wear hoods and hold skittles one after another. Acting with lethal weapons, you Mel Gibsons and gloves. Shot in the back, I'm watching you suffer. Black standing on corners in seconds like smothered. She forgave him for his son's death. Listen to mother, listen to common exercising his five senses. To end racism, stop looking through racial lenses. Look at constitutional, not civil defenses. Stop marching. The only thing that pickets is fences.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster. Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster.
I never heard of it.